Good morning, class. Am I audible to all of you? Class, am I audible to
Yes,
all of
ma'am. Ma'am.
you? Okay. Just wait for 5 minutes. We'll start after 5 minutes. Let others join also. Okay. Okay, class. Are you all there? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so today we are going to start with a new topic, which is memo writing. Okay, so it is a part of your fourth module. Okay, so we are continuing with that module. We are going to start today and discuss memo writing. Now, what is a memo? Now, this is a word I think most of you have heard and may have seen also an example. Okay, but may not be aware that yes, this is what memo is. Okay. Now, to understand what a memo is, or how to draft a memo, we need to understand the meaning of memo. Okay. Now, it does appear in the form of a letter. Okay. It may, in the first glance, it may appear as if it is a letter, but then it is not a letter per se. Okay. It is very short and it is to the point communication which conveys your thoughts, reactions, or opinion on something. In short, somebody who is writing the memo actually conveys the thought or opinion about something in that. Okay. And it is directed towards someone. Now, you have to keep in mind that anybody cannot write a memo. Okay. Memo is basically an official document. Okay. In organizations, you have memo. You don't write a memo like a student doesn't write a memo to a teacher. A teacher also doesn't write a memo. But if you're in the administrative position or if you are in an organization heading some department, okay, or some wing, you do have the authority to write a memo. Okay. So it comes from the top level to the bottom level. Okay. Someone who wields power, authority, is the one who is capable of drafting a memo. Okay. And it is for basically for someone who is lower down the hierarchy. Okay. Now, you have to keep in mind the basic format of a memo. Now, before understanding the basic format of a memo, okay, you have to keep in mind why you are writing this memo. I've told you it is very short. It is an official document, very short, point to point communication is there. Okay. So, the purpose should be clear. Okay. Now, you have to understand whether you are writing the memo to give some information to, people who are below you, or, you are actually taking some action against someone, or you want people to take action based on the information furnished in the memo. Okay. So once you decide whether it is informative or persuasive, you draft it accordingly. Okay. Most of the memos, they are a combination of both. They will provide you with information. Okay, now when you're giving some information, you obviously expect, the people who have got the information to act in a particular way, right? Otherwise, why that information is provided? Even if it is an information regarding a holiday, okay? So obviously that information is furnished so that, you know that your employees will take some leave, okay, on that day. Won't be there in the office. So that is an action. This is a very simple example I'm giving you. Okay, so that's the action you're expecting. So it has persuaded them to take the day off. Simple example, okay, of memo. Now, see, so the information you are providing, okay, it combines both. Okay, it informs you as well as provokes you to take some kind of action. Now, if it is only persuasive, okay, it wants you to take some action only, then uh, it will engage the reader's interest. Okay. And then a directive will be issued. The reader will go through it because memos are very short, right? Only two, three, four sentences. So when it has engaged the reader's interest, it will obviously then issue a directive that you are supposed to take this and this action. I'll give you an example, which you all can relate to. You must have visited the website of our institute, right? And there you must have come across the notice board, okay, for students, general notices for admission. Now, recently, I think 3, 4 days back, you must have seen a notification regarding the reopening of hostels, right? So it was issued by, I think, Chief Warden or Dean Students Welfare, right? Either of these two people. Okay. So you have seen that, in the first 2, 3 sentences, it was directed to all the students. Okay. So, person in authority, he is issuing it, and it is directed to students who are bound to follow the rules. Okay. Someone who is lower down the hierarchy. Okay. Now, in the first 2, 3 sentences, the information is given. Okay. The subject line was there, right? Clearly communicated. This is something you need to keep in mind. The subject line that must clearly communicate, what you want to say. So it was regarding the reopening of hostels for second, third, fourth year students, right? So subject line was there. It immediately has grabbed the attention of the interested students. Now, in the first 2, 3 lines, the information was there that it will be reopening immediately, so you need to apply this, that, so many things in 2, 3 lines. Then, when this interest was grabbed, when it had picked the interest of the students, the directive was issued in the next paragraph or the concluding paragraph. You can say it's the concluding sentence as well. Okay, that you have to apply ASAP with the mess application fee, mess charges. You have to get your RT-PCR report. Some 2, 3 directives were there, right? So have you seen this kind of notification on the notice board? Did you come across this? It was done very recently. Has anyone seen this? Class? Class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you have seen this kind of notification, this is an example of memo. Okay, memo from the higher authority to the students. Okay, so you can even keep it open before you, since you all are using either the phone or the laptop. So that's the example of a memo, which is pertinent to you all. Like an example. Now, after you decide the purpose, I had told you when I was giving you this example that you have to be very clear about the subject line, why you are issuing that memo. Okay. Now, the example I had used, I had said that, it's regarding hostel reopening. Okay. For second, third, fourth year students. So the subject line was clearly mentioned. Okay. In the first paragraph, memos are very short, obviously. So, when I was giving you this example, I had said that in the first paragraph, 2, 3 lines are there, okay, which gives you the information. The purpose of writing the memo is given in those 2, 3 lines, okay. And in the concluding paragraph, which might be of one sentence only, or maybe 2 sentences at the most, there the directive is issued. What needs to be done? What you are supposed to do after reading that information in those first 2, 3 lines or the first paragraph. Okay. So that is there in this, when you are structuring a memo, drafting a memo, you have to keep this thing in mind. And then obviously you have to keep it very simple. Okay. After all, there are hardly 5, 6 sentences in all. Okay. And it needs to be, something which can be clearly understood by all, especially the target audience. No flowery language, no nothing. Now, memos, when they are persuasive and informative, it actually makes, the communication lucid among all. Okay. When you're regularly updating the information in the form of these notices, memos, for the concerned people, it actually, reduces the gap, between the authority and the employees or the ones who are lower down the hierarchy. so that communication gap is reduced to a large extent because you know what you need to do, what the authority is thinking, okay, and what kind of action is expected from you. So memo basically serves this purpose. So before you draft a memo, you have to keep these things in mind. Okay. Now, let me, just give an example, of a persuasive memo. Okay. Okay. Uh, Again, I'm taking the example of students and memo, which will come from the authority, from the chief warden or the dean students welfare. Okay. Now, maybe it would be regarding, let's say, a very common topic uh, on ragging. Okay. Now, you all know that ragging is banned, and there is this anti-ragging squad also in almost all institutes. Here also we do have. Now, they know very well that this, first year students are mostly the targets of ragging. So you may see, a memo coming up on the notice board, and sometimes even, a printout of it is taken out and, pasted on the walls of the hostels, which actually discourages, ragging, right? So there, you would see, it is directed to all students, right? And then you would find that the subject line is written as, um, ragging is banned in the campus, or, uh, yes, ragging is banned in the campus, subject line on something of this sort, okay? And then you come to the uh, purpose, okay, of the memo. The subject has already been said. So in the first paragraph, which is of 2 3 lines, you say, like what ragging is, and how ragging can have a bad impression. It can leave so many traumatized, okay, and it is an unhealthy practice. So and so, in 2 3 lines, the purpose is stated. Now next comes the uh, directive part, which is conveyed in a very subtle manner. This is a persuasive memo. Okay. You cannot simply say that, if you are caught riding someone, you will be punished, or something of that sort. You would have to be very subtle in this case. You have to say, how instead of ragging, if you want to communicate, you can arrange this program, that program, okay, and then some kind of get together can be there, orientation program can be there, okay, and you can follow these methods and not indulge in ragging. So, in this manner, you are actually addressing, the students. You're trying to persuade them to not engage in the uh, activities of ragging. Okay. Once you have done that, you sign with your name. Okay. Yes. Another interesting thing is that, in most memos, especially, the ones which are circulated in the academic institutes, you'd see that there is one sentence added that, this is issued in concurrence with the mm, consent of the higher authority, okay, competent authority. So this shows that, that everyone is involved, right from the top, everyone is involved in issuing this kind of memo. So this is an example of persuasive memo. Now, if there is a directive memo, okay, now in a directive memo, let's say something which will be related to your admission. Okay. Now there you might find, the information is given in the first paragraph, and then, they might say that, these are the steps you need to follow in order to get yourself admitted in IIST shift code. Okay. The dates would be given, how you have to submit your fees, when you have to attend the counseling, what time, what are the guidelines, you must adhere to. Those are mentioned. Okay. So, these type of memos are basically called directive memos. Okay. Have you followed?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any question? Any question? No question?
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Okay. For this memo, I will be uploading the handout on your classroom. Okay. So, examples are also there. The basic structure is there. What memo is all about. Like whatever I have taught you in this class, that will be there in this mm, memo. Okay. I mean the handout. Okay. What concerns memo. Now, one thing, while discussing, which I have forgot to mention is that, date. The date is very important. Memos cannot be, without date. Okay. Otherwise, you won't know, when that information was furnished. Okay. Or when you were required to take some action. Dateless memos won't serve the purpose. Okay. You might get confused. So dates are very important. You need to write the date, and the date is written at the top. Okay. When you are addressing the person concerned, okay, and then you write the subject. Just before the subject, you mention the date, as we do in case of letters, right? So date is very important. Okay, now just give me a minute. I'm uploading this memo on your classroom. You check whether it's accessible or not. Just give me a minute. Class, just check your classroom. I have uploaded the document on memo writing. Okay. Just see whether it's accessible to all or not.
Yes, ma'am. I get it.
Okay. Now, just go through it now in the class. Okay. And see whether you can understand it or not. Whatever I have told you, whether you have followed it or not. It applies to all. Okay. Go through the memo now in the class and tell me whether you are following it or not. If there is any question, ask me. I'll repeat again. Okay. Just go through it. Is that clear, class? Go through the handout.
Yes, ma'am.
Do it now. Are you going through the document, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Is there any question? Are you following what's there?
What should be the maximum size of the body of the memo?
It's very short, precise. There is no word limit as such, but since from beginning to end, I was telling you it's point to point communication. The purpose is clearly stated, and what you are required to do, the action expected is also stated. It's usually half a page, A4 sheet I'm talking about. Long memos are discarded. Okay. Until and unless it is a memo which is issued to one particular employee, because of his misconduct, some action would be taken against him. Show cause notices. I think you must have heard of this term, show cause notice or letter. Until and unless that is the case, usually, it's within half a page, A4 sheet page.
So we have to write it in points or in para.
In paragraph, you can write, when points are required, when, it is a directive memo, you are writing, a memo, you are giving the information in, suppose in the first one, two sentences, okay? And then these bullet points or point wise you can use when you want them to follow certain steps, particularly see if it is a memo which is regarding admission procedure, okay? So there may be 5 6 steps are there which the students need to follow to make it more lucid, easy to understand. You can then write those steps in 1 2 3 4 format, but usually it is written in paragraph. Okay, only informative, simple, persuasive memo in paragraph. Okay.
Ma'am,
Need
is
some
there is any
clarity?
word limit?
No, no, there is no word limit. I just told you. Hardly there are two paragraphs. The first paragraph it has 3 4 sentences, and the last paragraph 1 or 2 sentences. So how long
Then
will
at
memo?
the end writing thank you, these things are the part of format or we can write only on our own.
Usually it is part of the format, but you can simply write, sign your name as well. Okay, just sign your name and keep it. Thanking you is also not required.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Any other question, class?
But do you have to write that persuasive memorandum, decisive this thing in the heading?
No, 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 no. These are just examples. In the question paper, you would be given, a situation. Okay, like this is the information you need to convey, or you have to tell your employees this thing. So you write a memo on the situation. So you have to decide whether it stays as informative memo or persuasive memo, or a combination of both. You don't give the headline. Those headlines are given to make you understand, the different examples. That's it. Any other question, class?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
There's a part in the heading like CC. Any people you are copying the memo to? Ma'am,
Yes.
whom do I copy the memo?
Now it depends. Suppose now remember I was just telling you that usually the notices or the memos which are issued to the students in the website. Okay, you see that the last line is given as this is issued with the consent of the competent authority. When you write that, the CC is not required. Okay, but if you are not writing, this thing, okay, or even in certain cases you can write it, but suppose let me give you this example. uh, a particular memo is directed to um, 2 3 students, okay. Now let's say in who had in got themselves involved in ragging activities. Now some step is being taken against them. Okay, so the memo, whatever the structure is, that is followed. Okay, now they are the students of a particular department. Okay, they may be from 3 different departments or from the same department. So in that case, the head of the department needs to be kept in the loop. Okay, so in that case, you write the CC and then you write the head, suppose EST department or EE department. Okay, so in such cases, CC is required. Otherwise, it's not required always. Did you understand?
Okay, ma'am. Understood.
Okay. So go through this. I think it's already time. So we will end the class now. And next week we'll start with the other topics. Okay. If you have any question, we can discuss it in the next class. Is that okay, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Hmm.